You were made for more than just to punch in, punch out, avoid your boss, do the minimum that they require, and go home and watch TV. You were meant for way more than that. You deserve more than that. And so, my admonition to enlarge that active income is to be a better employee. Be the best employee you can possibly be. Find additional ways to earn money for the company. Find more profitable ways that you become a absolute, team member that they just can't let go of. That they're willing to give you raise after raise after raise, promotion after promotion. If you're in a small business, okay, that's fine. There are ways. I promise you. I'm an employer. Okay, I employ a lot of people. At the end of the day, let's not get this thing twisted. In order to have an employee, they have to be doing something that, because of them, I make more money. That's just the reality of it. If I pay someone $100,000 a year, but they are only worth or produce $50,000 a year, then I'm losing $50,000 a year. That is not going to happen. That employment situation is not going to happen anymore, right? If I'm breaking even, right? Say that I pay them $100,000 and because of their work I make $100,000, that's also not going to work. Why? Well, because I'm not making any money. The purpose of business, the purpose of working, the purpose of doing jobs is to produce and make money. And if we're just breaking even, I've got other stuff I would much rather do than just try to break even on a job in order to have somebody else have a job, right? But if that person who's making $100,000 is making the company $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year, that person now becomes invaluable to me. When they come to me, which, by the way, you ought to go to your bosses and ask for a raise. And I'm going to tell you how to do that in just a minute. But that person becomes invaluable, right? If they're making all of this money, when it does come time to have that raise talk, I'm much more willing to listen and try to make them happy because they're now a viable team member. They're now producing me. They now become an asset. They are an asset to me, right? Because assets make money, liabilities cost you money. Most people who are doing the whole if you're doing the quiet quitting, you are no longer an asset to the company. You are literally a liability. It's costing the company more money to keep you in there than to let you go. They just don't know it yet. And that's not a lot of integrity in that scenario. But become a better boss, or a better employee. Become invaluable. Develop more skills that will help the business. Go get certifications. Go get licenses. Go do something. If you're going to do something, you ought to do it well. You ought to do it right. You ought to put your energy behind it, right? And make it so that you're using your unique talents that nobody else has, your unique personality that nobody else has, to go and do something really amazing, to grow the business, to get more money for the company, and to then go and say, hey, I'm an invaluable part of what we're doing here. Because then when it comes time to ask for a raise, because the whole question that's being asked is, how do I enlarge my active income? How do I make more money, Brad? Well, that's one way. That's the easiest way. It is the easiest way. It may not happen right now if you've been a quiet quitter for a long time. If you've been a quiet quitter that's just doing the bare minimum, you should not expect a raise. You actually should expect a demotion and a pay decrease. That's what you should expect. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. But if you have been a good team member that's producing more for the company, that a raise is justified, you might be literally one conversation after having listened to this episode of increasing your active income just by following what I'm about to say to you. Go into that meeting and lay out, hey, boss, because of this action that I did, we were able to get this additional revenue. Because of this a step that I take, we made more money this way. Because of, and list them all out. List all the reasons and all the things that you have been able to do, because you've got to justify it to a boss, right? You've got to justify saying, hey, this person deserves more in order to keep them around, number one. Because if you just go and say, hey, I want more money. Yeah, we all want more money. What are you doing to earn more money? That's the question you got to ask yourself. And if the answer is no, I'm not really doing much to earn more money. I've just been here a long time. So is the couch. So is the furniture. Like, who cares that you've been there for a long time? You need to be there for a long time and producing more revenue. Let's not get this thing twisted. The purpose of business is to make money. And if you're not a team member contributing to making a bunch of money, you're replaceable. Many of you have found that out, right? You found out that how replaceable you are, that by the end of the day, you had a job ad out and they filled your position within days. So my admonition is be irreplaceable. Be so irreplaceable that the thought of them losing you makes it so that they can pay you as much as they possibly can still pay. Because remember, just because you might be in sales, right, and you're responsible for $400,000 worth of sales or whatever it is, that doesn't mean that that's $400,000 worth of profit. That's just the top line. You still got to fulfill the thing. You still got to produce the thing. If it's a product, you still got to make the thing. You still have overhead. And this is what bosses are concerned about. They're not just concerned about your salary. You're concerned about your salary. That's great. But they're not just concerned about your salary. They're concerned about the whole profitability of the entire company, right? And if you know what it costs to produce your product or service, if it's 30% of whatever you're able to sell, then now you can kind of do the math. And do the math respectfully, but coming and saying, hey, I've increased profitability here. I've increased revenue here. I've decreased expenses here. There's only two ways to make money in a business. To make more money in a business. Something that our government has not learned, which is increase your revenue or decrease your expenses. Those are the only two ways to do it. So either you come in saying, hey, I was able to decrease our expenses by $100,000. Do you think I can get a raise for that? Maybe. Or I've been able to, the best way is to increase the revenue. I'm bringing more money in here. Now, if you're an admin situation or a manager situation or whatever, you're going to have to get creative to figure out how you can add value to the market, to the marketplace and to your business. But once you do figure that out, go and ask for that raise. Go and ask to make some more money. And maybe one tip, instead of just asking for a raise in your salary, maybe ask for a percentage of something that you're increasing or selling. Saying, hey, would you mind adding a commission component to this for me? Would you mind saying, if I sell something past this, come up with a comp plan that works for the business, works for you, so that it can be justified, right? If you're able to produce more income for the company, more revenue for the company, more profit for the company, and you become an irreplaceable person, you are going to make more money. You're going to increase your active income. But the second way might be, and unfortunately I read an article the other day, I don't know if we can pull that up or I put that in a link in the show notes, but it talked about how loyalty and longevity may not be the best strategy for you to make more money. You may need to switch companies, which is number two, switch jobs. If you're doing this and you're doing well and you're really good at it and all this kind of stuff, but your company's just not recognizing it, you've had the conversation about raises, you've had the conversations about different comp plans, and it's just not working, you may need to go find another job and go work for somebody else who will pay you more than what you're currently making. Now, I'm not a big proponent of that, only because the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and a lot of people get burnt doing that way, right? Or they think the grass is greener on the other side. But if you can really do a good job interviewing, talking to headhunters, understanding the company, understanding the culture, even asking really poignant questions that most potential employees don't ask, like, hey, what's our revenue right now? What's our expenses? What's our profitability right now? Like, if you're concerned with the top line, those managers, you may see that a bad manager will get a little, not embarrassed, but think that it's a little off-putting. But a good manager won't. A good manager is not gonna be like, how dare you ask that question? A good manager is gonna say, well, we're at X, we want to be at Y. What can you do to help us get there? And then answer that question. Well, here's how I can help you. I can bring in these clients. I can do this type of work. I can reduce our expenses here. I can do a bunch of different kind of things. So a way to enlarge your active income, you might need to quit. And many of you are listening to this podcast as you're driving into the work that you need to be having these conversations in the next couple of days. You need to be making decisions in the next couple of days. Hey guys, I'm here for you. We got a plan. That's the real wealth formula. And it includes making more money. You got to make more money. Why? Why do you have to make more money? Because you need to use the additional capital to go acquire cash flowing assets. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button right now. You don't want to miss the next episode. Every week, we drop practical money strategies and real stories that'll change the way you think about wealth.